The belonging gap: why Black women entrepreneurs are building their own tables. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today, I want to share something that shook me to my core, something that fundamentally changed the way I understand what it really means to be a Black woman entrepreneur in this world. These insights came from a conversation I had with Tishona Moore, a visionary entrepreneur, advocate, and change maker who is not just building businesses, she is dismantling systems. She is creating ecosystems of belonging where there were once only walls of exclusion. She is rewriting the narrative for Black women in business, one conversation, one connection, one act of radical solidarity at a time. Through her work, Tishona is proving that when we create space for each other, when we build communities rooted in authenticity and mutual support, we don't just change individual lives, we transform entire economies. So let's dive in. Because what Tishona revealed to me, what she helped me see with absolute clarity is something every single one of us needs to understand if we're serious about equity, about justice, about real change. We talk a lot about the funding gap. You've heard the numbers. Black women receive less than 1% of venture capital funding, less than 1%. We've heard about the loan denials, the elevated interest rates, the doors that slam shut before we even get a chance to knock. And yes, all of that is true. All of that is devastatingly, undeniably real. But here's what Tishona helped me understand in a way I had never fully grasped before. And I need you to really hear this. The biggest barrier Black women entrepreneurs face isn't just access to capital, it's access to belonging. Let that sit with you for a moment. Really let it land. Because when we talk about closing the funding gap, we're really only addressing half the problem. The other half, the part that doesn't show up in spreadsheets or policy reports or quarterly earnings statements, is the belonging gap. It's the isolation, the exclusion, the soul crushing feeling of being the only one in the room who has to prove herself twice as hard, work twice as long, smile twice as wide, and still be questioned, doubted, and dismissed twice as much. Even in spaces specifically designed for women entrepreneurs, Black women often feel like outsiders. They're invited to the table, sure, but they're not given a seat. They're asked to share their stories, but their voices are drowned out by louder, more privileged narratives. They're told to network, but the networks were never built with them in mind. The introductions don't get made, the opportunities don't materialize, the doors remain closed. And this is where the real work begins. Because if we want Black women entrepreneurs to thrive, and I mean truly thrive, not just survive, we can't just throw money at the problem and call it progress. We have to build ecosystems. We have to create communities. We have to foster belonging in spaces that were designed to exclude us. Let me paint you a picture of what this really looks like on the ground. In 2021, the Canadian government launched something called the Black Entrepreneurship Program. Now, I know what you're thinking, another government program, right? But stay with me because this one was different. This wasn't just a loan program. This was a recognition, a public acknowledgement that systemic racism had created gaps so deep, so entrenched that they couldn't be filled with capital alone. The program had three distinct components, and this is important. The loan fund provided direct financing, yes, but then there was the Knowledge Hub, which offered mentorship and training, the kind of guidance that helps you navigate systems that were never designed for you. And finally, the Ecosystem Fund, which expanded geographic reach and built networks of support through regional development agencies, bringing resources to communities that had been ignored for generations. And the results? Over 24,000 Black entrepreneurs supported, more than $70 million in loans approved, 801 loans that didn't just change bank accounts, they changed lives, built legacies, strengthened entire communities. But here's what matters most, and I really want you to catch this. This program didn't just give people money, it gave them access, it gave them mentorship, it gave them a roadmap, it gave them a sense of belonging in a system that had excluded them, marginalized them, and underestimated them for far too long. And that's the lesson we need to tattoo on our collective consciousness. Capital matters, but community matters more. Networks matter more. Mentorship matters more. Belonging matters more. Now, let's talk about something that broke my heart and inspired me all at once. There's this research called the Founders Report. It surveyed over 1,500 Black women founders in Canada. And what it revealed was both heartbreaking and a testament to the unshakable resilience of Black women. 63% of Black women founders self funded up to $100,000. 63%. Think about that. They dipped into their savings, their retirement accounts, their children's college funds because no one else would invest in their dreams. No venture capitalist, no angel investor, no bank. 43% couldn't secure external funding at all, not because their ideas weren't brilliant, not because their business plans weren't solid, not because they didn't have the skills, the vision, or the drive, but because the system wasn't designed to see them, to believe in them, to bet on them. 82% relied entirely on personal savings. 82%. They didn't have access to family wealth or trust funds or well connected investors who believed in them from day one. They had themselves, their grit, their faith, their refusal to give up, and they made it work anyway. But here's what Tishona wants us to understand, and this is critical. This isn't just a story about struggle, this is a story about strength. This is a story about Black women who refused to let systemic barriers define their destiny. They didn't wait for permission, they didn't wait for validation, they didn't wait for the world to finally see their worth. They built their businesses anyway. They created jobs anyway. They innovated anyway. They thrived anyway. And that is what resilience looks like. Not just surviving, thriving despite everything, in spite of everything. But here's the truth we need to confront. Resilience shouldn't have to be a requirement for success. Black women shouldn't have to be superhuman just to access the same opportunities that are handed to others on a silver platter. And that's why the work that Tishona is doing, the work that organizations like the Black Women Collective are doing, is so absolutely critical. The Black Women Collective is a national organization in Canada that was founded by Black women who looked around and realized something profound. They realized that they needed a space of their own, a space where they didn't have to code switch, a space where they didn't have to explain their lived experiences or justify their existence, a space where they didn't have to prove their worth over and over and over again, a space where they could simply be seen, heard, valued, and supported. The collective provides education, mentorship, and financial literacy programs for Black women entrepreneurs across the country. They offer virtual and in person programs, mentorship circles, and workshops that address the real challenges Black women face, not the sanitized, palatable version that makes everyone else comfortable. And the impact? Hundreds of Black women entrepreneurs have built skills, accessed resources, connected with mentors who truly understand their journey, and found a community that lifts them up when the world tries to tear them down. That's what belonging looks like. It's not just about being in the room, It's about being valued in the room. It's about having mentors who get it, who've walked the path, who can guide you through the minefields. It's about having a community that celebrates your wins, holds you through your losses, and reminds you that you are not alone. Tishona reminded me of something so vital, something we cannot afford to forget. Community and mentorship are as important as capital. Access to networks, mentorship, and support systems can literally be the difference between a business that barely survives and one that absolutely thrives, that scales, that creates generational wealth. And this is where I want to bring it back to you, to us, to the women listening right now who are in their soft girl era, who are learning to release the cape, who are redefining what strength means, who are choosing themselves for the first time in their lives. Because here's the truth that will set you free: your story is your power. Every challenge you faced, every setback you've endured, every moment of doubt, every sleepless night, every tear you've cried, and every time you wanted to give up but didn't. Like, those are not weaknesses. Those are not failures. Those are not signs that you're not good enough. Those are the foundation of your strength. Those are the source of your unique voice as a leader. Those are the experiences that make you unstoppable. Tishona's work is a living testament to this truth. She's not just building businesses, she's building movements. She's not just creating opportunities, she's creating belonging. She's not just opening doors, she's building entirely new houses with tables big enough for all of us. And she's doing it because she knows deeply and personally what it feels like to be excluded, to be overlooked, to be underestimated, to be told no 1,000 times and still show up. And she's saying, not anymore, not on my watch, not in my community. So, what does this mean for us? What does this mean for the high achieving Black women who are listening right now, who have spent years, decades even in survival mode, who are finally ready to shift from grinding to grounding? It means we have to start asking ourselves a fundamentally different question. Not just how do I get funding, but how do I create belonging? Not just how do I build my business, but how do I build my community? Not just how do I succeed, but how do we all rise together? Because when we lift each other up, we all rise. And that's not just a nice saying, that's a strategy. That's a movement, that's a revolution. Here's what I need you to hear. Here's what I need you to feel in your bones. If you're a Black woman entrepreneur listening to this right now, if you're feeling isolated, if you're feeling exhausted, if you're wondering whether it's all worth it, if you're questioning whether you have what it takes, I need you to know this. You are not alone. Your story matters. Your voice matters. Your dreams matter. Your business matters. Your vision matters. You matter. And there are people like Tishona, organizations like the Black Women Collective, communities like this entire soft girl era movement who are here to support you, to uplift you, to remind you that you don't have to do this alone. You were never meant to do this alone, because softness is not weakness. Asking for help is not failure. And building a business while protecting your peace, while setting boundaries, while choosing yourself, while honoring your need for rest and joy and community is not only possible, it's necessary. It's revolutionary. This is your soft girl era. This is your time to release the cape. This is your time to redefine strength on your own terms. This is your time to embrace healing. This is your time to protect your peace as a sacred practice. So here's my challenge to you. Here's what I need you to do right now, today, this week. Stop waiting for the system to change. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. Stop waiting for the world to finally see your worth. Start creating belonging in your own circle. Reach out to that Black woman entrepreneur in your network who's been struggling. Share your resources, make introductions, open doors, use your voice, your platform, your privilege, whatever you have to amplify the voices of Black women who have been silenced for far too long. Mentor someone, invest in someone, believe in someone, create space for someone. Build a table big enough for all of us because the belonging gap won't close itself. The system won't fix itself. Change doesn't happen because we hope for it. Change happens because we create it. One conversation, one connection, one act of solidarity at a time. And when you do this, when you choose to be the person who creates belonging instead of waiting for it, you're not just helping one woman. You're changing the entire ecosystem. You're building a new world. You're creating a legacy. So I'm asking you, what will you do today to create more belonging? How will you use your voice, your resources, your story to lift up another Black woman? How will you be the mentor you wish you had? How will you build the community you needed when you were starting out? Because when we lift each other up, when we create spaces of true belonging, when we invest in each other with the same energy we invest in ourselves, we don't just change individual lives, we change the world. And that is the power of community. That is the power of belonging. That is the power of us. Thank you.